Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Have you ever been sick? Well, of course you have. We've all been sick. And the question is, why do we get sick? Can we prevent getting sick? Can we feel better right away if we get sick? Well, I am so happy to talk to you about bioenergetic medicine. Yes, the premise is the body can heal itself. How on earth do you unlock your body's potential to heal yourself? Well, I am so thrilled to introduce to you Dr. Brad Nelson, who is an expert in bioenergetic medicine, and his book is entitled The Body Code: Unlocking Your Body's Ability to Heal Itself. And Dr. Brad is the author of the best-selling The Emotion Code. So welcome, Dr. Brad Nelson.
Well, thank you for having me on, Dr. Duffy. I'm grateful to be here. It's good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Yes. Your book is so fascinating and it's so multidimensional. The idea is that what makes us sick is that the body gets out of balance, right? And you talk about six major areas of imbalance: energies, circuits and systems, toxicity, nutrition and lifestyle, misalignments and pathogens, and that they are the root causes of our physical, mental, and emotional issues. By identifying and releasing these imbalances, we are empowered to activate our body's innate healing power. Yes.
Exactly.
So this sounds like a dream. It sounds like it's too good to be true, Dr. Brad. So can you tell us a little bit about how you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go back a ways. In 1980, I took a class. I was going to college, took a class on computer programming just on a whim. And I was entirely captivated by this and became a computer programmer. So back in the early 1980s, when the personal computer revolution was happening, businesses would buy an IBM PC, for example, and they wouldn't know what to do with it. They'd want to use it for their business, but there was no software really at the time. So my job, I had a business called the Computer Tutor, and I would go in and I would look at people's flow and try to figure out what their business was about. And then I would write software that would allow them to use their computer for their business. And so later on, I ended up, it was really actually an answer to prayer for me to go to chiropractic school. It was a literal answer to prayer. And so I went to school and I can remember sitting in class and hearing my neurology instructor talk about how the brain is this incredible computer. Computers were fairly new then. And I can remember sitting there thinking, well, wait, I'm a computer programmer. The brain's a computer. Gee, does the brain maybe have a back door? Will we ever have the technology to be able to access that computer, the brain computer, and be able to get information out of it? Because, wow, that would be such an amazing way to help our patients, because in the brain must be the information about what's really wrong with people. And little did I know that that's exactly what I was going to spend the rest of my life doing. And that's what the Emotion Code and that's really what the Body Code are about. And so as time went on in practice, I gradually learned some methods of accessing that internal computer, the subconscious mind. If you think about it, we all have a conscious mind where we spend all of our waking hours and we have conversations like this and we work our jobs and have our relationships. But at night, we go to sleep. The conscious mind totally shuts off. What's left? Well, the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind never shuts off until you die. And that's the part of you that's creating millions of new cells every minute. It's regulating your breathing, your heart rate, and all of these things that we don't even need to think about. Imagine how complex it would be if after breakfast you had to instruct your body how to break that down and create new cells and hormones and all kinds of things.
And keep reminding your body to breathe, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get much sleep, I'll tell you that. So that's the subconscious mind. And, they've done studies about the subconscious mind that have led me to believe and understand that the subconscious mind is kind of like a holographic computer that remembers everything you've ever done, every face you've ever seen in the crowd, everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled. The whole history of every split second of your life is recorded in that subconscious mind. But it goes even beyond that. The whole history of every cell in your body. Think about this. They say that a single cell in your body is equivalent in complexity to a full-size aircraft carrier with engine jets with their engines spooled up, sitting on the ramp, ready to take off, and thousands of people working at their own individual jobs. That's how complex a single cell is. And they say that we have probably about 37 trillion cells in our body. The subconscious mind, I'm convinced, knows exactly what's going on with every single one of those cells. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And it knows the history of every cell. It knows exactly what's going on with you. It knows what your health history is. It knows if you've got deficiencies of anything going on. It knows if you've got any other imbalances. And what I found, you see, the oldest idea in the history of healing is that health is maintained or regained by maintaining or by regaining balance in the body. So if you can imagine, here I am for roughly 20 years in practice, and I've got one patient after another coming in to see me, and they've all got different problems, and they're all different ages. And what I'm trying to do, because I was licensed as a doctor of chiropractic, and so I didn't have a license to prescribe drugs to people to suppress their symptoms, right? Yeah. Which essentially is like putting a piece of tape over the check engine light. I couldn't do that. I didn't have a license to do surgery. I couldn't remove troublesome organs for people. So I was left with this dilemma of actually having to figure out what was wrong with people. And initially it started out that I was just realigning people's spines, and I had great results doing that. All kinds of things got better. But as time went on, things became more and more complex, more and more difficult as my skills increased. And so what I found, first of all, is that I learned some really simple ways to access the subconscious mind, to actually talk to that internal computer. And because I'd been a computer programmer and was now a doctor, I had that framework. I had that way of thinking, that I understood logic and I understood how computers worked. And so what I did is I always had a computer right there with me when I was in practice. And when I would find a new imbalance in someone, I would record it so I wouldn't forget anything. And eventually I ended up building this big database, this big mind map with multiple levels of all kinds of different imbalances. But basically what I was able to do was build a map that looks like this. And there are 6 categories here on this map that you just mentioned. And these are the 6 kinds of imbalances that we suffer from that end up causing all of our problems. And it's an amazing thing. But if you think about it, these bodies still to us are kind of a black box. I mean, if you end up with migraine headaches or infertility or asthma or digestive disorders, or you end up with cancer, or you've got some kind of physical pain, maybe you deal with migraine headaches or back pain or neck pain or knee pain or something like that. Or maybe you're dealing with depression or anxiety or phobias or panic attacks, or maybe you suffer from PTSD or eating disorders, or maybe you just keep sabotaging yourself. Maybe you keep picking the wrong kind of person to be a mate with, or maybe you just can't seem to make money. what I found during all of those years is that all of those things are symptoms. All of those things are symptoms. In other words, if you think about this, imagine driving your car down the highway and your check engine light comes on, turns red. That's a symptom, right? That's a symptom. But you know that that's not really the problem, is it? I mean, if you went into a mechanic and the mechanic put a piece of tape over the engine light and said, okay, you're good to go. Well, you're not a mechanic probably, but you would know that that isn't right. And in our bodies, we have all of these symptoms that arise, mental, emotional, physical symptoms, but none of those are really the problem. And this is a totally different way of looking at the body, because Western medicine looks at the symptom as the problem. I mean, if you have migraine headaches, for example, well, there are different medications that have been developed that you can take, but you got to keep taking them. They're toxic. And they'll gradually poison you and damage your liver and kidneys in most cases. But if you don't keep taking those drugs, when you stop taking them, the migraine's still there, right? And that's how it is with so many different kinds of things, so many different kinds of symptoms. Western medicine looks at those symptoms as the problem, but those are just the check engine light. And you've got to look at the body in a different way. See, you've got to look at those symptoms, whatever they are, as an indicator of something else that's going on in the body. For example, I tell a story in the Emotion Code book about a lady. They're talking about migraine headaches. This lady came into me one day. She had hurt her back lifting one of her kids. And I was talking with her, and she told me that she also had a migraine that had been going on for 2 weeks with no break at all. She was taking Cafragot and Fiorinol and some heavy medications. She said that she'd had migraine headaches for 20 years and that she had them almost every day. And she'd taken medication for all those years. And so as I examined her, she'd never seen a chiropractor before. I examined her and found she had a bone out of alignment at the base of her skull. And I adjusted that bone and the migraine instantly just disappeared. She kind of was stunned and couldn't quite believe it. She seemed a little confused. She came back about 5 or 6 days later and she was really mad. And I thought she was mad at me. And I thought, I must have said something wrong. She said, no, she said, I'm not mad at you. She said, my migraine hasn't come back. She said, this is the first stretch of time that I've had with this many days without a migraine in 20 years. And she said, I'm mad because I've taken thousands and thousands of dollars worth of drugs and I've lost probably literally years of my life just in a dark room with the shades drawn, trying to deal with this pain. She said, I've seen so many doctors. None of them told me that there could be an underlying cause of this problem. She said, I'm angry because I've lost all those years that I'll never be able to get back. That's one example. You think about, I don't want to bash Western medicine. I mean, Western medicine is so great at so many things, mostly acute problems, right? If you're racing the train and you lose and your leg now is over there, well, get to the hospital and they might be able to reattach your leg, which is just kind of unbelievable, right?
Right.
Amazing things. And sometimes drugs are needed and so on. But most of the time, most people don't need surgery. And most of the time, most people don't need to be taking some kind of pharmaceutical drug. Most of the time, people just need to find out what those imbalances are that are going on in their bodies and fix those. And the beauty now of this work, the body code, is that we now have a roadmap that we can use. It's like the Rosetta Stone for the subconscious mind. We can use it to find out what's really going on inside of us. And then we can fix those problems. And in many cases, things can improve.
So, Dr. Bradley Nelson, I'd like to jump ahead a little bit. You certainly have made a case. And what on earth can a person do? So the body code. So how do we decode our bodies? How do we take the tape off the engine light? And then what on earth do we do? Can we practice this alone? You talk about self-healing. We don't need someone with us?
Well, you can. You know, we've certified over 10,000 people in our certification programs for the emotion code and the body code in 80 countries around the world. So we have lots of people that are able to help. If you want to find a practitioner that can work with you, you can go to discoverhealing.com. That's our website. And there's a map of practitioners.
Discoverhealing.com.
Yep, discoverhealing.com.
Mm-hmm.
There's a map of people all over the world, but you can also learn to do this yourself. And that's really one of the beautiful things about this, is that you don't necessarily have to have someone work with you. You certainly can, and it's highly recommended, but you can also learn this yourself. See, I believe that every person that's born in this world is born with a birthright, and that birthright is to actually be able to help themselves, the birthright to really be a healer. We're all healers. We've just lost that knowledge somewhere along the line. We all have that ability to help ourselves in many, many cases, most cases, really. Western medicine's always there as a backstop, right? If we really need that kind of help. But most of the time, most of the things we suffer from, we can help ourselves to get rid of and get over. And we can help our family members and loved ones to do the same.
Yes. So how do we do that? We decode our body, and in your book, again, you have the 6 major areas of imbalance: energies, circuits and systems, toxicity, nutrition and lifestyle, misalignments, and pathogens.
Right.
And how do we decode? How do we discover the source of the imbalance?
Well, first of all, if you understand about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, that they're different, and that the conscious mind holds very little information about what's really wrong with us. I mean, think about it. When we end up with some kind of a disease or some kind of a symptom, we don't know why we have it, right? We go to the medical doctor. He or she, they don't know why we have it either, but they know that if they give you a certain chemical potion, it will suppress that symptom. And that's kind of how things run today. So most doctors have a lot of training in pharmacy, and that's great. But most of them don't really have any understanding really of the underlying causes of why things go wrong and why we start having these symptoms. So let me share a couple of stories with you, actually, before we get going here. And I'll explain more about how this is done, and I'll kind of explain that as we go. Okay. So here's a great story that can kind of give you an example. There was a woman that came in to see me once who had been hospitalized for 5 days with this severe pain in her abdomen. And they had run every test known to man. All the tests were negative. And so they ruled out doing surgery on her. And they said, okay, we're not finding anything really is wrong with you. You need to go. We can't help you here. And so the next day she comes into my office, and she's about a 9 on a 0 to 10 level of pain. So she's really hurting.
Whew.
And so I started using the body code. Now, how did I do that? Well, one of the things that we can use is something that we call muscle testing. Now, a lot of people are familiar with muscle testing because for many decades, there's been this kind of like a parlor trick almost, where people will hold out one arm and then they'll hold a packet of artificial sweetener to their chest or something like that. And another person will press down on their arm. And what they find is that if they're holding something that's kind of toxic, they won't be able to hold their arm up. And this has been done for many, many years. Well, what that is really is it's the subconscious mind comprehending what it is that you're holding and staying strong if it's good for you or weak if it's not. And so what I found is that you can ask questions and the subconscious mind will give a strong physical response. For example, if I were there with you and if you were to hold out your arm and if you were to say, my name's Dr. Duffy Spencer, if I were to press down on your arm, you'd be strong. It's because that's true. Mm-hmm. If you were to say, my name is Louise, that wouldn't be true. And if I were to press down on your arm at that moment, your arm would go down, right? Your arm would weaken. And so if you can imagine, I've got this woman in my office. She's really in pain. And I have her hold one arm out and I start asking questions. Now, the questions are answered not by her conscious mind, but by the subconscious. It's an involuntary response. And so So I started asking questions if she had some imbalances going on, and I found some things, found some emotional energies that were trapped in the body. And as I was going through the body code, one of the things that I found going on with her, and I would correct each thing as I would find it, I found that she needed chromium. And I thought, chromium, because there's a table of nutrients in the body code. And so I was able to find out she needed chromium. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, that's kind of an incidental thing. Chromium is great for blood sugar, but sure it doesn't have much to do.
So how do you do that? You go down the list of nutrients and you just see if your arm is strong or not strong.
Right, exactly. I can show you more easily on the actual app. There's an app that we use, and the body code teaches people not only how to find and correct imbalances using the book, but there's also an app that you can use that has all the same functionality in it. And it includes everything that the body code doesn't use, because we had a page number limit on the book. So in her case, for example, what I did is I asked, okay, do you have an imbalance that we can release? And the answer was yes. And then I would ask, okay, is it on this side of the chart? And that was weak. That was a no. So it's on this side. Well, is it a pathogen or a misalignment? Oh, okay, it's one of these. So we went there.
You ask about each of the 6 areas, which is in your book and on your app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I asked, okay, so these are all nutritional imbalances or lifestyle imbalances. And so I found, okay, well, is this on the left side of the chart here? And I got a no. Okay, so it's on the right side. So is it in nutrition? Yes. So I went there. So is it on the left side of this chart? Yes. Okay. Is it a nutrient? Yes. So then I was taken to this chart. Okay. And then I asked, okay, well, this imbalance that we're looking for, this nutrient, you see this inside, it's hard to see. The subconscious mind knew exactly what she was looking for, right? What it needed. And so I was taken to column A and row 2, and it wasn't the first 4, but it was the last one, chromium. And so I thought it was an incidental finding. And I said, okay, I think you need chromium. I said, we're out of it right now, but I think at some point you should get some. Okay, fine. I couldn't find anything else on her. And so she goes home. So the next day she comes back in, and now she's like a 10.5 in pain. And I thought, and I remember thinking, my gosh, the hospital, they must have missed. There's got to be something really, really bad going on with her. And I said, I can't believe they missed it. But I didn't know what else to do. So, because she's right there. And so I started testing again. And out of all the possibilities in the body code, I was taken right back to this page and by her subconscious mind and right back to chromium. And it was only then that I remembered, oh, wait, hey, that showed up the day before. That showed up yesterday. I said, look, I don't know why, but I think your body really needs chromium. I want you to leave my office right now, go down the street to the health food store, buy some chromium tablets, and then ask them for water. Don't even wait. Just take some right there. So 20 minutes later, this young woman is literally jumping up and down in my waiting room. And she's saying, I'm fixed. I'm fixed.
Oh, my word.
She said, the instant that I took the chromium, the pain just was gone. And this is pain that had her hospitalized for 5 days, remember?
Ooh.
And she said to me, she said, how did that work? And I said, well, I have no idea. Still to this day, I have no idea why that worked. I mean, no one's ever been able to explain it to me. But I said to her, the important thing to realize is that your subconscious mind, the computer within you, knew that you needed chromium. Why? I have no idea. But I said it knew that it needed it. And luckily, I was asking questions and had a way to decipher and decode essentially what your subconscious mind needed, what your body needed. There's one example.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Brad, I'm sorry to interrupt. We only have a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And how do people get access to this app?
Oh, the app is called the Body Code app, and it's available online. It's available at our website at discoverhealing.com/app, or you can get it, of course, on Google Play or the App Store. It's a subscription app, so you get 30 days free. So what I recommend for people is that they get the book, read the book, and then if they're still interested in getting the app, then get the app and use it. But the app makes it easy. The book, though, what we wanted, in fact, I'll tell you just a really quick insight into this. When we wrote the Body Code book at first, see, the app is so expansive. I mean, there are thousands of different nodes in here. Okay. But it's easy to drill down and find things. But anyway, when we first submitted the book to the publisher at St. Martin's Press, it just included the overview of what the Body Code is and some stories. And we would tell people how it worked. And they came back and they said, no, we want a how-to book, but it's got to fit in about 400 pages. And so we had a problem because we couldn't put the entire Body Code into 400 pages. There's just no way. I mean, it's about 1,000 pages already. And so what we did is we picked really the highlights, the things that we find most commonly, and then we teach people how it actually works. And you can use the book itself to find imbalances and fix them. And people are doing that all over the world, and they're finding out, gee, this actually does work. I actually feel better. My back pain's gone. My depression's gone. My whatever is feeling better, And so, so there's the app, but then also the book, then they both work.
So I noticed that you didn't say the name of something. You just said column A, number 3. And so a person is looking at that and they're saying column A, number 3. Or they don't need to look at it. They don't need to look at it. And that's really one of the amazing things. What I believe is that if you think of the conscious and the subconscious mind as being like an iceberg, the conscious mind is like the tip of the iceberg. Mm-hmm. The vast bulk of the iceberg's below the waterline, right? That's what sunk the Titanic. And so that's the subconscious mind. Well, the water that the subconscious mind is in is what you might call the database of universal intelligence. It goes by all kinds of different names. The morphic field. Dr. Brad, I'm so sorry. I have to interrupt you. Our show is over. I can't believe it. But for everyone, you are in for a big treat because Dr. Brad is coming back next week, and we're going to continue this talk and explanation of how you can heal yourself. And you said the water is, what phrase did you use?
Oh, the database of all that is universal intelligence. Universal intelligence. And that would probably be like the collective unconscious, Jung's term. Same thing.
Same thing, collective unconscious. I've always been so fascinated by that and how on earth we can connect with this universal intelligence. It's incredible. Dr. Bradley Nelson, author of The Body Code, Unlocking Your Body's Ability to Heal Itself. And you just go to the Body Code app or discoverhealing.com to access this incredible book, this incredible concept of self-healing. It's absolutely brilliant and so exciting, Dr. Brad. So
it is.
Until next week, my dear. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.